Hi everyone, I'm Zencom and I'm very excited to have Tendermint Timmy here with me today. Timmy is the founder of SparkIBC, a very new and hot app on Juno Network. Welcome Timmy, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. And credit where credit's due. I'll actually call myself a co-founder. My dev partner who I'm building it with is just not too active in the Twitter scene, but I definitely can't take all the credit. But thanks so much for having me on, man. This is cool.
Great to have you. So let's start with the obvious. Not many people know what SparkIBC is. Probably most haven't even heard the name. Can you give us a quick couple of sentence overview about what this is?
Cool. Yeah, someone actually gave me that question earlier and kind of wanted to know what's the vision in a nutshell. And I guess the vision is to provide a more fluid, sort of dynamic, yet also organized alternative to governance for when the community, be it investors, validators, builders, want to make something happen or enact change. So, what does that mean? How do we want to go about that? So, we're kind of calling ourselves an interchain community fund. And the way we're going to run is very similar to a nonprofit. So while we will have an on-chain application that you interact with, with your wallet and transactions, we won't have a token that you can trade or buy on DEX or a centralized exchange. We have no real source of income. So we're hopefully going to find that through grants, community pool proposals, etc. But our rough model is that you'll come to our website, SparkIBC, which is built on Juno, but we are aiming at the whole cosmos. Our mission statement, our vision I kind of talked about a second ago, that is aimed at anyone connected in the interchain. And eventually that will expand past even Cosmos SDK based projects. Like if you turn on IBC and you're connected, you're a part of our ecosystem in our mind. So built on Juno, but for the whole cosmos, we will have two main donation pages sort of when you first come to our site. The first will be the campaign page and the other will be the general fund. So at any given time, we will always have the ability for people to donate to the general fund. That is just sending money to a multi-sig that we've set up with a couple well-known, well-liked community members to be spent kind of as Spark sees fit here and there for little contests, supplementing other things, paying people who volunteer their time with us, $100 here and there. But we hope that the general fund is actually not going to be the bulk of our donation. We're going to really focus on campaigns. So at any given time, there will be a campaign running for a set time periods, maybe June 1st to the 14th, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it might be. And so when you load up Spark, you'll be able to scroll down. You'll be able to get really in-depth details about what the campaign is, exactly what's happening with any money you donate. Like, does SparkIBC hold it? Does it go straight to the recipient project? We want to be super transparent with all that kind of stuff. Certain projects will have tiered funding goals. So let's use an example. One thing we want to do is create more informational content and resources in the cosmos. So we might run a campaign that is raising money for workshops. We would have reached out to builders and validators, people like that in the community, and said, hey, would you be interested in donating some time to run some classes and put together resource packages for anyone who attends, get prices from them, come back, and then maybe make a proposal that's like, we're trying to raise $2,000 for these 4 instructors who are willing to donate time. We'll each pay them $500 each. And so if we raise 500 goals, we'll have one of them. If we raise 200, we'd have 2 instructors, etc. So all that kind of info will be in the description of the campaign. And that's also one thing the general fund might be used for. So let's say we were to raise $1,900. We're just like $100 short of the last person. We might supplement that with the general fund. Now, the reason I went with that example is actually because I'm super, super excited to be able to say that is our first campaign, and it will have a funding goal of 0. We have gotten a bunch of awesome people in the community to donate their time so that we can start off with a bang. The exact dates for these workshops aren't released yet, and maybe they will have already happened by the time this goes live. I'm not sure which your time frame is, Sen, or at least the first one would have. But 4 or 5 weeks in a row, we're going to be running a workshop open to anyone through Google Meets probably, or maybe Discord on Saturdays, kind of middle of the day, try and hit all time zones. So yeah, so that's our first campaign there. And the idea is people come, they donate, right, however much they can afford. We were going to use UST, but we'll now be using USDC. And so here's where the fun Web3 part starts coming in. Probably took too long to get to this, but for every dollar you donate, you are minted a Spark token directly into your wallet. You're not given it, it's minted because it's non-transferable. So you'll never be able to sell these. They actually work as a sort of immutable on-chain point system. So we're going to try and not refer to them as tokens after we launch going forwards. We're going to call them Spark points. And one of the big features of our website will be a leaderboard. So you'll be able to go to the leaderboard. There'll be two sections, private wallets and validators. We might expand the validators section to validators and projects later down the road, or and protocols. We're thinking about that. But so you can go on the leaderboard, see where you stack up against other cosmonauts. It adds a bit of a gamification element where you can see who has the most Spark points, where you stand. So we're actually going to be introducing Soulbound NFTs to the cosmos as well. I know there's been some hype and talk about that with Vitalik mentioning them, but Soulbound just meaning non-transferable. So as you interact with Spark, as you meet certain Spark point thresholds, like let's say you get to 100 points, aka $100 donated total, or 1,000, whatever, you might get a badge that you can put on the leaderboard. You can pick between your different badges. Some will be for participating in a given campaign at all. Other ones might be tiered, like how much you donated, just as a fun little gamification sort of aesthetic thing. Because on the leaderboard, there will be an edit button for your entry, where you can go in and replace your wallet address with a nickname of your choosing and pick which of your badges to display on the leaderboard next to your name. Validators and projects will also have the option to add some custom text and a hyperlink. So they'll be able to, link to their website or whatever. So that's the meat of it. There's a lot more, but I just talked for, 10, 15 minutes straight. So yeah, thoughts so far, Sen? I know this is the first you're really hearing about this too. So I want to just kind of pause there, I guess, get your feedback.
Yeah, wow. This was a lot of meat for a short overview. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But I really like the idea. I think now with the crypto market down, I think there's a lot more calmness returning, and people can focus again on bringing over values. And I think with the gamified system you're introducing, you can make the community aware of certain issues. You can raise awareness with this. So, and with these campaigns. And I think that's a pretty cool, some kind of a social media tool. Is there a word for it? Web3 social tool? I really like that.
It's like a social community tool, like a Web3 social community tool. Yeah.
And regarding social, I saw you on your Twitter page, you don't have a lot of posts. I think there's Hello World and then two more. But one of them is with Howl Social. What's the connection there?
Yeah, so connection at its root is really just that one of the big brains behind Howl, Callum, has just been incredibly helpful to us in getting into Cosmos Web3 and being someone we can ask little tech questions off of, someone who's taken a huge interest in Spark, really likes it. We just kind of become friends, I'd say. And so he wanted to get me in there as the beta. And we just had the idea somewhere along the way of it'd be cool if Howl got tweets, or howls as they're called, an hour before Twitter did, or something like that. And then I don't want to say anything specific because I don't want to lock into anything, but we do actually have some plans for integration, which actually I guess perfectly leads to another kind of fun thing I didn't touch on, which is we hope to eventually make it so that having Spark points alters your experience across the whole cosmos. So an idea with Howl might be something like, if you have more than 500 Spark points, you have the ability to change the theme of your Howl. So maybe the colors are different. Or one idea we had from the DAO team was just make your wallet address, the border that's around it, it gets like the Spark border. Or we had the idea with either Howl or Desmos. This one's actually has technical problems to integrate, but something like maybe you get more characters in your bio. Nothing monetary, because that kind of defeats the point of donating, but we do want to make it so you actually feel the effects of you donating when you're using other apps like Howl. So I'd say that's the extent of the connection, but I think there's a good chance for more deeper, maybe collaboration down the line.
I think with this model, you have a lot of flexibility in designing your future moves, basically, in what direction you want to go, because basically everything is open and you can decide, or the community can decide. But before we continue with Spark, let's cycle back a little bit to the team behind it. I wanted to ask you this. Who is behind the team?
Cool. So yeah, it's just myself and my dev partner. He's actually been my real life friend since like childhood, Cosmwatch, or Max. So it's Timmy and Max. He not super like active on Twitter. He made his first crypto Twitter just for this when we started doing Spark. So he's not too like known in the community. He's just a passionate developer of a bunch of different languages, just hobbyist and his day job. The Spark idea started out super small. One day we saw a contest that was going on. I was just talking with him that was like, hey, if you are delegated to one of the 20 top validators on this chain, and you redelegate to someone in the lower 80 to help with decentralization, then you're automatically entered into this prize pool raffle drawing thing. I tagged a couple validators I was friends with who ended up donating into the prize pool and sharing it and making the contest bigger and in theory more effective. And so Max and I were just talking one day, like, it'd be really cool if like those validators could get recognized and like for that contribution, not monetarily, because otherwise it's not really donating, but what if there was an organized sort of structure to help those sort of efforts along? And from there, we just slowly cooked on it and started talking to people in the community. And now I would say we kind of do have 2 other team members. I wouldn't say I'm like sort of volunteers, people helping out, but Grits Dog from Twitter, Instagram, most people know him. He moderates a lot of stuff. He's been helping us put together resources and docs. So we're creating resources for just all Cosmos projects. And then also Thyborg, who is a user on Twitter who in the past like couple months have just been banging out almost daily an amazing thread on just some interesting thing in the Cosmos. We reached out to him. We're like, love what you're doing. Want to do it for Spark, and we can help promote you and get this in front of more people. So yeah, those 2 actually just like the past week or 2 kind of joined on. So it does feel like our team is suddenly expanding a little bit, but definitely a small team, small project right now. Oh, and I'd be absolutely remiss if I didn't mention Blue Note. Blue Note is a developer who I think has no tweets on her Twitter. It's funny, not very active, but helped to build DAO and DAO Up, a couple other things on Juno. And so we've hired her on as like our full-time, actually knows what they're doing Web3 dev while Max kind of catches up to speed. So yeah.
You're growing quite fast, but I think you're also getting help from Uplink, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to be meeting sometime soon with Narcissus.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's pronounced. Yeah, Narcissus, who's going to help us just get the Discord kind of in tip-top shape. And in general, they're one of the teams we've just kind of talked to a little bit that's helped give us feedback and yeah, just shown an interest in the project.
Cool. But it feels like Spark could turn into some kind of reputation system where good behavior is rewarded with recognition and also for retail users experience. Is that something you want to go into in that direction?
Elaborate. What do you mean exactly?
So I think there are a lot of different ways you can move SparkIBC into more like a reputation system, or do you more want to focus on the donations? Where do you want to lie your focus of the project? Do you want to, for example, rather help or
the primary end goal mission that we would probably alter other things in our model to fit before anything else, like as a top priority, is being able to most effectively take action in things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the two main parties, three sort of, that can like take action are the general community through governance votes. So let's say, so for example, let me back up just a moment. I find it absolutely ridiculous that Cosmos doesn't have marketing. It's crazy. It makes no sense. It makes no sense that individual projects like Luna, Secret have to try and allocate community funds. Like, that's great. You guys should still do that. Luna buying the sports team branding for 5 years, that's awesome. But what is the Cosmos as a whole? The technology, the community. We have some app chains in the Cosmos, right? Like just Stargaze. They're not going to have their own funding budget the way people know about, Ethereum, and we'll just explore everything on there from there. So governance is sort of limited to certain chains because it's pulling from a community pool of only one chain at a time. And it is not dynamic and like efficient. It takes a while for governance to pass. It's fully decentralized. So like once that money is voted on and available, who's actually spending it and using it, etc. The other two parties that actually kind of have the ability to enact change are Ignite and the ICF, the Interchain Foundation. Ignite being what used to be Tendermint. And they just don't really, I mean, they do important things. I'm not saying like, oh, we can do what they do better, but they don't at all really take an interest in little issues or the community's immediate wants and needs. So between those two like big companies and governance pools, we basically were just like, there needs to be a third option that is in the middle of everything. So for example, we're definitely not fully decentralized, right? We're not a DAO. When you give us the money or whoever we're fundraising for, that's just like a direct thing. They're in control of it. We had to play around with this for a while, right? To see if that was actually the model that made sense. And that's how we originally got in touch with the DAO guys, because we were like, hey, you guys build DAOs, help us figure out if this is what we want or not. And this is the model we eventually landed on, where it's like, nope, a centralized entity, Cosmwatch and I, with community feedback, of course. We're going to have huge channels, both on Discord and elsewhere, for people to suggest campaigns, build them out alongside us. But having that centralized ability to go at any time, here's what we're raising for, here's where the money's going to go, here's who's managing it, that's something that the Cosmos just sort of needs. And I guess that was sort of answering your main question of what we kind of want to do long term and what we prioritize on. But to touch on the reputation thing, because it's definitely wrapped together, I think this is just something I left out in my long-winded explanation at the beginning. So while the gamification aspect is awesome for the end user, I mentioned the leaderboard is split into two parts. And so on the validator and maybe project leaderboard, one of the reasons those are separated at all, they aren't going to work super functionally different, but it's for reputation. So the end user gets the gamification element of donating badges, all this stuff. And while validators and projects do have that, it's much more so sort of a measure of their reputability and their dedication to the Cosmos. So a long-term plan that we have actually is to get Spark score on MintScan and PingPub next to validators. So when you are going and deciding who to delegate to, you now have one more metric to look at: the amount of money that they've contributed back into the ecosystem.
I like that. So I don't like social credit scores in real life, but I think for validator entities, measuring their community contribution, or if they are just, grabbing the money, I think it's very cool. And it will weed out the bad validators who don't vote, who don't participate in the discussions, who miss blocks, I like that.
Totally. I've seen in the Cosmos that the most active, and all of the Cosmos, this was true on Luna as well, like they're no different. The most active, kind of seemingly passionate validators that are on Twitter often and engaging with the community, they're usually lower on the list. And so if we can do anything to help with that, if you go to like the Cosmos Hub's validator list, I don't know off the top of my head, but how many in the top 10 are like centralized exchanges or big whatever that they won't touch Spark. They probably won't even know it exists. If they do, that would be awesome. That means we've really gotten on people's radar. But chances are like they're not even going to be on our leaderboard. Spark will be sort of a home for actual grassroots, engaged, community-driven validators. And we're hoping that it'll sort of just work out with the general attitude of people we've seen in the cosmos is the only reason we think this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
For context, I've been in crypto in some capacity since like almost the beginning. I mean, I definitely wasn't smart enough to invest soon enough, but like I mined Litecoin and Dogecoin when it first came out on my computer, was trading by the time we had the 2017 bull run up to 20K. And in all this time, I have never started my own project or anything like that in crypto because I just have a very realistic view of the world. I know what is and isn't within my power to do, and also what is and isn't important. So it would have been easy at some point to just spin up a DEX, right? You just copy someone else's code. It's what PancakeSwap did with Uniswap, what tons of things do. But like, what value does that bring? When this idea started coming around, we criticized the hell out of it. We were being so scrutinized. Like, is this something we're actually gonna like commit to? Like, how viable is this? Let's think through every bit of it. Like, where could it be exploited? Where could it be more inefficient than we would imagine right now? All this sort of stuff. And one of those questions we wrestled with is like, who likes to just give away money? Like, especially in crypto, most people are here to make money. Like, usually with a launch pad, at least, where you're donating money to help a project get started up, you're promised some Genesis supply of their airdrop, or some airdrop supply of their Genesis. But with us, it's like just donations. But the cosmos is where we think it's possible. Somewhere we have a list of things, such as that contest I told you earlier, where two validators I knew donating their own money to another validator, in theory a competitor, to help do their contest. I've seen people get hacked and the community rally together to reimburse them within like a day. I've seen validators offer money out of their own pocket for other validators to update their infrastructure so that chains can run better. This is stuff you don't see in a lot of crypto communities. And when I started really taking a note with it in the cosmos, I was like, we need to channel this and use this. Like, people have more passion and willingness to give for the greater good in the cosmos than elsewhere. So let's make it easy for them.
Well, first, I'm very happy that you decided after all these years to finally build. And then in the cosmos, so I think you struck gold there. I think the space needs every talented and creative builder it can get. And you know, some build decks, some build liquidation systems, and some build a reputation system to bring certain values closer to the community. And one thing I was just thinking about is I would love to see Spark not only giving out Spark points to people who donate, but also people who contribute, because I think there are a lot of altruistic contributors to the Cosmos Hub and the whole IBC and Cosmos SDK. And it baffles me every day I look into the MintScan validator list to see that the core contributors to the Cosmos technology, may it be Tendermint, may it be the SDK, they're not even in the top 10 of the Cosmos validators. It's iClusion, Strangelove Ventures. I have no idea, and I'd love to see a big Spark point besides them, so that maybe even just one delegation goes to them.
Yeah, that's so funny, Sen. People are definitely going to think that we planned this interview out, like the questions and such.
We didn't for the protocol.
I wasn't too sure if I was going to talk about this, because I think one of the things Spark's going to be big on is not talking the talk before we're ready to walk the walk. Just like, you know, the only reason we're not more public and out there, we only have 1 or 2 posts on our Twitter, because, you know, we're waiting till we're ready to fully launch, right? So, but since your question was so perfectly on the nose, we have definitely thought about that. And I think I'm almost more excited for, I guess, phase 2, you could call it, than the initial. Our first big roadmap item to start tackling after we launch and get all of our kind of basic features in place is something I think we're going to call a Spark Plus token. toying with the name still, but because it's Spark Plus, because it's the other things you can do on top of donating to help with the ecosystem. Now, the problem we had with this is quantifying, right? So $1 donated, very easy to say that's worth 1 Spark, kind of 1-to-1. Who, in a seemingly decentralized system, who decides how much work a code commit is worth, or running an event, or doing XYZ? Like, for example, Terra Spaces. Right now they're charging because they had a rough time after the Terra collapse, but for a while they were recording and editing spaces for free. And that's awesome. Like, that should get rewarded, that type of stuff. But who's to put a number on that? The model that we're slowly refining is that as you accrue Spark points and donate to Spark, you slowly earn DAO tokens that are also non-transferable. So the only way to become a member of this DAO that will have authority and say over how many Spark Plus points should be given for any given thing are people who have only gotten there because they've had the best intentions. Like, you will only have a say in this DAO if you have already given away a good chunk of your money, well, proportional to how much of a vote you have in the DAO, of course. And so we think it's going to be this really reinforcing, like, semi-closed loop system where we can start to turn over a little bit of power. We want to decentralize more and more over time, but turn over power to our donors, our community members, our validators, the people who have supported Spark and done donations, start to slowly give them the power to delegate Spark Plus points. And yeah, so obviously still tweaking it. A lot of things we're going to need to get right, kind of think through and test the model. But what are your thoughts on that model right off the bat? Curious.
When I was asking my initial question, I was thinking about the exact same solution.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good sign.
That's exactly how I would do it.
That's a good sign.
To be honest, I haven't thought about it longer than 2 minutes now, but I was thinking about having a voting system based on the Spark points that you earn by donations. And
so I think it's actually effectively the same thing. It'll more just be how we want to technically implement it.
Yeah, sure. But
same
I like
thing,
the idea.
Right? Like,
and what I even more like is that you tackle the issue we were talking about, namely that there are seemingly altruistic actors in the ecosystem that do stuff for free, or that maybe don't get the recognition or payment they should do, like Strangelove Ventures in the Cosmos Hub, for example, that you're addressing this problem. And I think now that the market is, coming to rest, I think the people that stay in the Cosmos, they will react very positive to what you're doing, because people that stay during the bear markets are those with conviction, not conviction to money, but conviction to the values the ecosystem or the crypto as a whole, but then Cosmos ecosystem in particular provides, and the vision it gives. May it be freedom, may it be privacy, may it be whatever drives the individual person. And I think you will address a lot of these people with Spark. So I really like that idea.
The two problems we're trying to tackle at super simple face value is how to give a bunch of sovereign chains that are separate a sort of shared organized voice, right? That's the whole thing that was going on about how we're built on Juno, but we might move from Juno if that ever is needed for whatever reason. We're for the whole cosmos, and that doesn't exist too much right now. And then the other issue we're tackling is sort of the actual implementing of ideas and changes, where decentralized systems are great but inefficient. We hope the biggest bit of feedback that we've had on the negative side, and to be clear, we've gotten very little, this is pretty much the only thing, is some people have been like, well, why not do this as like a DAO? Like, people have to kind of trust you guys. And I was like, and hopefully they will learn to over time. I think the trade-off that we get is worth it. We'll be more effective at actually making change and implementing campaign ideas.
And I think when the DAO development is still in its infancies, and I think that eventually there will be quick response governance systems, also in crypto. And I think this is a good place for you to further decentralize the system, because if there's one thing that the Terra crash taught us besides diversify your stablecoin positions, is it that on-chain governance needs to have some kind of emergency quick reaction system, because 7 days voting system is fine for normal proposals, for upgrades, but not for emergencies.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard one train of thought on that, and then I've had another one is like there could be some type of council of sort of community elected devs that are able to kind of push emergency buttons if they all agree or whatever. The other I've been thinking of is maybe just when you go to make a governance proposal, maybe there's an option to make it a 1-day thing, but the deposit is like 5 times as much or 7 times as much, so that you know, only major entities could really afford to even submit an emergency proposal.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to be careful with doing that kind of stuff. We don't want, I don't know, the history to repeat. But I think we can design a system that allows emergency reactions. Looking back into the past, Spark is going to launch soon. But if you were to go back to a certain event in the past, in crypto, in Cosmos, where you would like to have the system ready so you can reward altruistic behavior or help people with donations or protocols or whatever, what place of time would that be, or what event would you like to have the system ready for?
I mean, honestly, funny enough, we said internally, A, we're glad we were not already launched because we were going to be using UST, but B, we wish we were ready to launch or launched as soon as everything happened, honestly. As terrible as that kind of week was, feels like it was just yesterday still. Like the proposal that Kevin ended up getting put together from Juno to provide funding for some projects to come over, that sort of thing. Like Spark could have probably helped that along. It ended up passing with flying colors, so luckily we didn't need to. But I think I'd say the Terra incident, just because at the end of the day, if you want to summarize all the stuff I've rambled about, it's that we want to be here to help the community in times of need, whether those are pressing, like urgent times like Terra, or just casual times where the community needs a change or an update to a certain system. So that Terra event where people were lost, scared, watching chaos happen before their eyes, I think we could have helped there somehow.
Yeah, I don't think the scope of the donations would have any financial impact, but I think the community support itself would have had a positive impact. So I'm sure of that.
Yeah, so I guess totally agree there. More so thinking in line with like even outside of our donations, just being a sort of central trusted entity that a lot of people would know that could help throw their weight towards supporting certain things. Like Spark has no competition, right? So although like allocating funds for projects coming in is something that would like fall under our umbrella, we would just as soon go and support Kevin in him doing the proposal and be like, hey, how can we promote this, get eyes on it? He actually did come to us behind the scenes just to kind of get some feedback before it went live. But we do want to eventually be able to help with more than just what we do through donations. So right now, since I'm not a dev and we're pretty much just finishing building the workshop, there's not much left. I've been cranking out infographics and resources and just working on stuff that will just be resources for the community, you know, no campaign or fundraising needed. So even outside of our donations, maybe we would have been able to just act as a sort of a centralized force of some kind of calm and hope in the chaos, you know?
Yeah, I totally like that. I think it's great because when you look at the past couple of months, for example, think back to Twitter in, let's say, October last year. It was full of influencers and whatnot, and now they're all gone. People lost their money and the influencers are gone. An ecosystem needs a lot of things. Builders are one of them, but also it needs a strong community. And the community can take, with the help of DAO or other Web3 technologies, can take various shapes and forms. May it be in DAOs or just small teams being a part of the bigger ecosystem. So I think there is a place for you, and I think it's a good niche you fit.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
we hope to fit into place. Like we feel like we're a piece of the puzzle that has been missing from the interchain for a while, and so we're hoping we just fit right into place.
So where can interested listeners look for information? What do you have available right now?
So our Discord, not fully ready and live, but probably by the time you're seeing this video will be. That's going to be sort of our central home for a lot of stuff. So the Discord is set up so the community can come together and brainstorm about ideas and then come and propose them to Spark. And then, if they want, they can work with us to bring those campaign ideas to fruition, or they can just hand it over to us. So Discord will be our main hub thing. From there, I'd say Discord, because from there, there'll be a channel that's resources. And from there, you can get to our white paper, our roadmap on Trello. Instead of doing like a picture roadmap on our site, like a lot of projects, we're just going to let people look at our active development at all times on Trello. And then we will have a Telegram. Not sure how much that'll be used, but I'd say hop in the Discord, check out the resources section and the white paper. And that'd probably be the best place to start and catch up to speed. Aside from that, make sure to follow us on Twitter. We'll probably be doing a lot of Twitter spaces around the time we launch, just to answer questions, do AMAs, and we'll use Twitter to kind of keep people updated on campaigns and developments for the site at large.
That's a great outlook, Timmy. Thank you very much. I think we had a very exciting conversation today, and I'm really looking forward to you implementing your vision of a donation and reputation system across the whole cosmos. And I'll follow closely. So happy to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. This has been great. First one of these. I know a couple people have reached out to us about doing videos and interviews, but you got the first one. So much appreciated. I love everyone's been showing interest. To everybody watching or listening, rather, thank you all so much. I know I'm a bit long-winded sometimes in my answers and explanations. So if you made it to the end, we appreciate you.